Now everybody's doing it because it feels so good. All you need is a partner that know how to move, and the rest is real easy. Just dig the groove.
What's up, guys? Our Wrestling Podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Justin Total Package and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic: what happened to Junkyard Dog? For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you hook us up with a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast? Jess, you're bringing up some good old rock and wrestling stuff. This is going to be fun. And even well before that, JYD was a big part of our lives as kids. But he was big in those territories before Vince came and snatched him up, man. What brings this on?
Yeah, I think these people that don't win world titles or don't get kind of paraded around like sort of the bigger stars of yesteryear, like Savage or Hogan or Piper, and even Jake now kind of had, because of his problems, he got noticed more, and then getting clean and all that stuff. And now Jake is doing well, which is awesome. But people talk about him a lot because he does a podcast. He was on AEW for a while, but a lot of people don't talk about people like Junkyard Dog. And my what happened to Coco Beware is probably one of my favorite episodes that we've done so far, because
We had so much fun
Coco
with
was
that
big. Coco was big in the territories too, and he was like a mid-carder in WWF, but like I think we take for granted mid-carders in WWF, and no one ever gets to hear what they did before they were mid-carders in WWF, what they did in the territories. And Junkyard Dog was fucking over as shit.
Oh yeah, the crowd loved him. Craig, what do you remember about Junkyard Dog before we jump into the specifics?
You said it perfectly. I smiled when you said bring in a little rock and wrestling action, because that's exactly where his fondness and where I remember him. I mean, you even ask people growing up, like right during this Hulkamania rock and wrestling, and they'll say Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog. Like he's always, even like casual fans.
It's Hogan and Junkyard. It kind of rolled off that way.
Yeah,
because Warrior.
Casual fans remember Junkyard Dog.
Yeah, he was fun. I always laughed when I saw Thump on the keister. I don't know what that is, but hey man, let's just jump right in. Junkyard Dog, or actually Sylvester Ritter, was born on December 13th, 1952. Unfortunately, he left us on June 1st of 1998. That means that he died not much longer after Andre did. I think about 5 or 6 years or so, if I got it right. And he was obviously an American professional wrestler. He was a college football player. He is best known for his work in Mid-South Wrestling and the World Wrestling Federation as the Junkyard Dog, a nickname he had received while working in a wrecking yard. He was inducted into the WW Hall of Fame class of 2004. Just kind of give you an idea, Junkyard Dog was a big dude. He was the kind of guy that could roll up to Hogan and make everybody look regular size, because Hogan would tower over most people, but JYD was a big dude. Like, you can make it believable if they ever came across each other, that Junkyard Dog could give possibly take Hogan's lunch money, and that title along with it. Unfortunately, we never got to see that, because I would say the powers that be would always say someone like JYD doesn't need a title. He's over. He's already over. Doesn't need a title to work it. It's fine. I think we might disagree with some of that, but kind of gives you an idea of where we're at and where wrestling was at that time. Early in his career, JYD or Ritter debuted in the Tennessee territory, working for promoter Jerry Jarrett. Not that. Yeah, raisins. Grapes. We put grapes in the salad. Before moving to Nick, is it Gulas Company, or is it Gulas?
Sure.
Gulas's company, using the ring name Leroy Rochester. From there, he moved to Stu Hart Stampede Wrestling as Big Daddy Ritter, where he captured the North American Heavyweight Championship.
Call yourself Big
times.
Daddy. Don't call yourself that other shit. Big Daddy Ritter.
Big Daddy Ritter. Yeah, and that's
Put the ring together, Brett.
If you're Stampede, you're pulling down the heavyweight championship. That's kind of a big deal for anyone. So.
Oh, Roberts is tangled up with the ropes. Ritter's going up the ladder. Roberts can't get out of the ropes. It's all over. It's all over. Ritter has the belt. Roberts got tangled in the ropes. Ritter's got the belt. Ritter's got the $1,000. Ritter is the North American heavyweight champion.
JYD was definitely over. In the early 80s, Ritter had moved to
Bruce, come
Mid-South
here.
Wrestling.
You're going to be the most famous Hart, Bruce. Come here. Yeah, you're going to be the best.
You're the
Brett,
star.
shut up. Clean up the
Dude,
ring. Sweep up.
I
Yeah.
bet you JYD never allowed Stu to stretch him either. Like he wasn't going to Dutch. He's
No.
like, no, that's not
He's
happening.
all, I ain't going to go for that shit.
Nope.
Ritter, you just go upstairs.
So in the 80s, Ritter moved to Mid-South Wrestling, where the booker Cowboy Bill Watts gave him the name and gimmick of Junkyard Dog, as he would wear a long chain attached to a dog collar and white boots.
So we went from
Ritter's all-
Stu Hart to Bill Watts. Jeez.
Yeah. And that was actually his time in the Mid-South is when he got the biggest. I mean, he was really fucking over. And Jim Ross talks about it all the time because Jim Ross was commentator for Cowboy Bill Watts for a lot of years and really helped Bill Watts kind of under the table as well, like with booking and stuff. And
Sure.
he's like Cowboy loved JYD, and JYD was so over, and especially when he was slimmer. We saw him after Vince got him. You know, he was just not treating himself very good health wise, and he got heavy. And
He
his
did.
whole gimmick was just being a cartoon character at that point. But here in Mid-South, like he was a lot more mobile. And like Bill Watts and Jim Ross both have said, he was over as shit. Like he was really popular. I mean, like
Yeah.
everybody loved JYD. He was a major face. He would sell arenas out. Like people were just really into Junkyard Dog.
They
Like
came
we
to
talked
see
about it,
him.
I think with Coco, when Coco was in Mid-South with Bill Watts, he developed the name Birdman there, and then here,
Yeah.
like Bill Watts gave
He
him
was
JYD
over, man.
Junkyard Dog. So it's
Those guys
we
were
think-
definitely selling out arenas down there for a long time.
So we
you
think
know.
that Vince kind of would just give them all, or like, even though we thought it was silly, but it's like no, like he was called the Birdman was emphasized more when Coco went to WWF. Junkyard Dog as a dog was emphasized more because it was more cartoon friendly for kids. But you know, just being like the head of a junkyard is the reason why he was JYD. Like,
Yeah.
and so Watts kind of put some realism into it. Coco Beware, I think Dave said it on the Coco episode, was a Birdman because he fucking flew. He jumped off the top rope. He did all this stuff or whatever. Vince put the cartoon animals to it. But really, it's kind of interesting that Bill Watts was the
I
guy
know.
who gave two of wrestling's biggest names their nicknames before they went to the cartoon company.
Yeah.
I've never really complimented or thought of Bill Watts as like a pioneer, but shit, maybe he's even fucking better with names and gimmicks than Vince was, considering
Maybe,
this
maybe-
pedigree.
Unfortunately, he gets overshadowed, and as he should for saying those off-color things when he got fired from WCW years later. Unfortunately, and his failure to turn WCW around, kind of what he, unfortunately, to the modern fan. But in Mid-South, and then when he would convert it to the UWF shortly after that, Bill Watts was actually great at what he did. He's a bully. And he was just a hard-nosed old veteran and just knew he knew what the crowd liked. He knew how to push guys like Hacksaw and the One-Man Gang and Steve Williams and Terry Gordy and JYD and make them big stars. And he did. And like they were big stars before they got hired by either NWA or WWF
Yep.
at this point.
He took the mats away. What the?
That's so stupid.
What
He's an
Yeah.
idiot.
And no off the top rope.
Yeah, ridiculous.
You have a light heavyweight division. Don't do it.
He
No.
being JYD, not Watts, came to the ring pushing a cart full of junk called the Junk Wagon and lost most of his early matches before his character caught on and became the top face in the company. While on top, JYD feuded with some of the top heels there, including a now infamous angle with the Fabulous Freebirds, where they blinded him with hair.
I
cream.
remember
What's up?
that shots in magazines of that happening. Like obviously we didn't see Mid-South, but I remember the older PWI magazines that I would read was like a picture of that. And so I knew that they feuded. Freebirds were around too a lot. Like they did a lot of shit for heat, if you catch my drift.
They were working, man.
Yeah, they were working their gimmick pretty well. A lot of the stuff their attire that they wore wouldn't go over nowadays. But however, they were heat magnets, man. And so that feud with JYD was really hot and emotional, and it put JYD even further on the map because you got someone like Michael Hayes who could fucking rock a mic like nobody's business, and then you have Gordy and you have Roberts who are great in the ring, and they were the original Freebirds, and you put him in there against JYD. It's awesome.
You're up and holding you up, and of course the dog that's been stunned comes and tries to come to your aid, and as he yanks Michael Hayes around right there, it goes into his eyes. Now the whole point of contention, did Hayes slap that in his eyes on purpose, or when he whirled around, did the momentum of his hand just cause it to go into the dogs? But you can see the tremendous pain. This is supposed to be a solution to remove hair. And yet you can see when it hit the dog's eyes, the agony he's in, and of course the bewilderment and the agony you're in, and nobody at this point realizes the seriousness of this situation because they figure it's just something that...
It's just cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I think JYD probably got 2 faces to do 6-man tags against him and tour around the territory and stuff. And I'm sure it was just nuclear heat for sure.
Well, check out some of these feuds, man. They involved Ernie Ladd, Ted DiBiase, Kamala, King Kong Bundy, and Butch Reed.
That's like basically Hogan, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're going down. Yeah, you're definitely getting fed. In 1982 feud with DiBiase was particularly notable, as Ted, once JYD's friend and tag team partner, turned heel and subsequently won a loser leaves town match against JYD with the help of a loaded glove, which was a DiBiase calling card at that time, and that forced JYD to leave town for an extended period of time. He would also win the North American Heavyweight Championship while he was in the territory, but then in the summer of '84, Ritter, aka Junkyard Dog, left Mid-South for the World Wrestling Federation, where he was a mid-card wrestler, but as Jess has already stated very well, he was heavily over. I mean, he was a big-time face. The crowd would come to see him, along with many other huge talents that Vince basically plucked from the territories. Like I said, Coco was another one. He was just going down. He was picking up Harley Race. He was picking up everybody down the line. JYD debuted on a Georgia Championship Wrestling taping held at Kiel Auditorium on August 10th of 1984. While in the WWF, JYD made that habit of interacting with the growing number of young people in the audience, often bringing them to the ring after matches and dancing with them. That was fun. I did that quite a bit.
That was fun.
I remember that. That was fun.
He'd beat a prelim, and then he'd bring them all in the ring and dance with them.
Bring the kids in. Yeah, it was kind of cool with his crazy music. This is kind of you kind of forget this one. Like I said, what happened to him? He actually wrestled at the inaugural WrestleMania. WrestleMania 1 defeats Intercontinental Championship Greg Valentine by countout. Obviously, did not receive the title.
Santana now telling the referee that the Hammer had both feet up on the second rope, and referee Dick Cole now motioning Greg the Hammer Valentine back into the ring. He's going the wrong way, Jess.
Wait a minute. The referee is trying to say this match still continues?
Yes, he is. He's counting now. He's putting the count on Valentine. 5.
I don't like this, Tino Monsoon. I don't like it.
Look at Valentine.
What right does Chico Santana have to come in and change the referee's decision?
Oh, there it is. Reversal of decision. The dog is the winner, but unfortunately, on a count out, you cannot get the title.
And the Hammer. If we could pick up the Hammer's trying to get back in the ring. Jimmy Hart holding on to his legs. The Hammer's irate.
Ritter won the Wrestling Classic tournament by defeating Randy Savage by countout. That's a little known fact in the finals there.
He's known as King of the Countouts, I hear.
Yeah, King of the Countouts. As well as beating Moondog Spot in the Iron Sheik in earlier rounds, getting to the final. The tournament is often cited as the first WWF pay-per-view, the Wrestling Classic.
Did you own this VHS set?
Yes,
Jess?
I did.
Thought
that was the
did.
infamous where he took on Moondog Spot in the second round, and the ref forgot to come out to the ring. So Junkyard Dog legitly beat him in like 40 seconds and counted his own pin. And I'm not even kidding. Yeah, the ref never made it down to the ring. So he catches Moondog Spot, he power slams him, gave him the thump power slam, and pins him, and the ref rings the bell. And Monsoon just like, he counted his own pin. Huh, Jess, what can't this guy do? And I was like, dude, the fucking referee forgot to get up.
No way.
Yeah.
I bet he was fired. I bet that guy was fired. JYD's most
Batman,
notable feud.
Nick Patrick.
Yeah,
David Hebner.
There it is. JYD's most notable feuds in the company came against King Harley Race, the Funk Brothers, Dory Funk and Terry Funk, Adrian Adonis, Greg the Hammer Valentine, and Outlaw Ron Bass. Jeez, Ron Bass is always over these things. He also lost to Rick Rude by disqualification at the inaugural SummerSlam in 1988. He had then left the company in November of 1988. There, that's still a pretty impressive resume to be working with in a short amount of time. So it's a 4-year stint.
I wonder why he left. I've never heard any shoot
and
interviews.
On house shows, he teamed with Hogan a lot too. I remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think his health. I think JYD had issues too. So I don't want to speak out of turn on it. I think he did, and I know he had health issues, and he would gain weight quite a bit too.
Yeah, but it's pretty sad because he's wrestling all the way up until his death, pretty much, as we get into this. Ritter made his debut for the National Wrestling Alliance on December 7th of '88 at the Clash of Champions 4. He appeared during an altercation between the Russian assassins and Ivan Koloff, saving the latter. On February 17th of '91, he won his first WCW title, teaming with Ricky Morton and Tommy Wright to defeat Dr. X, Dutch Mantel, and Buddy Lindell, and gained the 6-man tag team championship in WCW. They still
Dr.
have it
X.
then. Yeah, Dr. X. He, not Dr. X, but Junkyard Dog, would begin a short feud that month with the Master Blaster,
Kevin
winning
Nash.
each encounter there. JYD and his partners held the title until June 3rd, when they were defeated by the Freebirds in Birmingham, Alabama.
Goddamn Freebirds.
A lot of things
Won't
happen in
leave JYD
Birmingham,
alone.
I'm telling you. And then
leave JYD
he
alone.
left the promotion in August. After dropping a significant amount of weight to improve his conditioning, Junkyard Dog returned in February 29th of '92 at Super Brawl 2. During a segment where Abdullah the Butcher was attacking Ron Simmons, JYD came out of the crowd to make the save there. Then in April of '93, he formed a new tag team with Jim Neidhart and began a feud with Dick Slater and Paul Orndorff that would last the next few months. After
Did they have a
defeating
name?
Slater,
I don't think they had a name, right?
No, it's just Dick Slater. It's Slater and Orndorff, man.
Dog-
The
the
Junk
dog and
Hearts.
Yeah.
Stu Hart's
Oh.
boys.
There's
It's so
yeah.
weird seeing these names teaming together too. After defeating Slater on July 28th of '93, he left the promotion again. You always feel like it's got to be money, or he's just in for a short contract. I'm not. Maybe he just wrestled by night and didn't have anything, and would leave himself open. After WCW, JYD went to the independent circuits where he wrestled for NWA Dallas. In '95, he wrestled for the National Wrestling Conference in Las Vegas, where he had matches with former WWF stars like the Iron Sheik, Mr. Hughes, and the Honky Tonk Man.
I love the
Ritter-
JYD, but I'm sure those matches were just awful.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ritter
Yeah.
stayed active in wrestling until the time of his death, appearing at ECW in 1998 at WrestlePalooza event there just 1 month prior. He was the founder of the Dog Pound Stable, an independent Mid-South promotion based in southern Louisiana. He had died on June 1st of '98 at the age of 45 in a single car accident on Interstate 20 near Forest, Mississippi. He was returning home from his daughter's Latoya High School's graduation in Wadesboro, North Carolina.
That's eerily close to, as we're recording this, the Briscoe death. Coming home from a daughter's event and all that stuff, like, because it wasn't Briscoe
Yeah.
coming home from his daughter. That's very
Yeah.
eerie. I didn't realize it till right now.
Oof. Yeah.
45, fuck, man.
Yeah, it's way too.
know.
We're all
That's-
we've
that's
all
our
surpassed
age.
that. Yeah, we're all past that age now, just by a little bit. So that's tough, man. I mean, I honestly had thought there was something with his health that caused the complications. I forgot about the car crash entirely until I just read it. Because to Jess, your point, he actually got back in shape, right? He took the weight off. He was getting better, and that's too bad. That's really rough, man.
I remember
That's,
him when I remember his match with Harley Race at WrestleMania 3. I remember that match with Rude at SummerSlam. I remember a lot of things that JYD did. When I first got into wrestling, I think he was feuding with Braun Bass in WWF. I'm almost positive. So I just remember that because I came in at the tail end of his feud with Harley Race. So yeah, they fought over the crown and all that stuff, and like Junkyard Dog was like a big deal for a while. I remember, and then every time he would come in WCW after that, like the pop he would get, it was like later on when WCW would hire Hacksaw in like 94, 95. It didn't matter how old Hacksaw was. Every time we went and saw him, like the
Yeah.
whole crowd goes, "Oh!"
Yeah.
Like JYD was that same thing, like in the early 90s. Like every time the Junkyard Dog crowd him, everybody would bark. And when he would get down to do his headbutts on the ground, everybody would pop. Like it's just the way it was. Like JYD
Yeah.
got over.
Yeah, that's a shame. Would have been cool to see someone like that still being around and maybe helping the young guys too. The guy knew how to get over. The ring work was, I don't want to say it was suspect, but he definitely wasn't one of the best. But Rock and Wrestle era was different. You didn't hit the ropes like you do today. It's a little bit different. It was about showmanship.
Yeah.
It's about working the mic, having a gimmick, and he had all of that. He knew.
But
how
I
to do all
remember
those
when
things.
he jumped to WCW, I remember like, oh man, he can work. He wasn't just the cartoon
Yeah.
character doing the headbutts. He was
So
a
he was
better
good.
wrestler in WCW. I mean,
Yeah,
you
he
guys
was
never.
good.
That was mostly the case. You know, Vince would kind of
Yeah,
like pun intended, neuter people a little bit, and just be like, no, it's more about your
Just go
character, it's
give
more
him a
about this and
show.
more about that. Yeah. But you go to WCW, NWA, they allowed you to just work your match, whatever you guys want to do,
Yeah.
just work your style.
Yep.
It was kind of always that way there, which I always, again, it's funny how we defend AEW now and we talk about that. WCW was that for me back then. It's like, it didn't matter if they were better than Vince or anything like that, because nobody was better than Vince in production, and AEW
Yeah.
isn't now.
Yeah.
But I liked the
They're better than
contrast of,
WCW though. I'll tell you that.
I liked, I liked people going into WCW, and then you see that they work, and then even when when a washed up Harley Race went back to NWA after WWF, like
Sure.
watching him do his belly to bellies, which Vince kind of just limited after a while there, you were just like, God damn, like I forgot these guys can work a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool to see JYD go back and stuff. And yeah, he was allowed to kind of let his hair down a little bit there, which is fun.
This is good stuff. All right. Good stuff.
So I
on
don't know.
JYD.
I just wanted to talk about him and just kind of bring his name up, like no one talks about JYD anymore. And again, not only just because it was 1998 when he passed away, but he wasn't a part of like the wrestling wars back then. Unfortunately, he didn't make, who knows, maybe if he would have survived and, he didn't pass away in the car accident, like he would have lost some weight and we would have saw him on a Nitro or something. Even if he was jobbing, it didn't matter. Like maybe we would have seen JYD on a Raw or on a Nitro.
I'm trying to think about it. Like 98 wasn't that far from it. Yeah, you're right. It's, it was just.
I mean, they were right in the middle of the Monday Night Wars in '98, so like, yeah, he could have easily just gotten it. But unfortunately, his last public appearance was at ECW WrestlePalooza, which was like the third brand, and he hadn't been in WCW since '93. So like, yeah, he just wasn't really relevant when he passed, unfortunately. And then he was put in the Hall of Fame in 2004, which was one of the early induction classes. I think that's when that was around WrestleMania 20 when they started really putting effort into the Hall of Fame, which is cool. But yeah, you forget about him, man.
He's worthy of the Hall. I mean, he did a lot of work.
Yeah, you forget about him. You really forget about JYD.
He's a major title holder in some major territories too. So, like it. Well, let's wrap it up, man. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, can you give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019 or at Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast? I think we should do some more of these. I sense a snooker coming on, maybe the tragedy of Jimmy. I'd like to do something like that. But for Craig, Jess, and myself, this is the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.